It was right around Christmas time, and I was talking with my father while we were visiting for the holiday. Hey, I'm going to be doing this podcast thing starting in January this year, and I'm really excited to get going with it. And as my dad lovingly tends to do, he wanted to give me some recommendations for things I could cover on the podcast. He had recently come across an article from Apple News. One of the topics he was excited for me to talk about was retirements. More specifically, how do I withdraw money from my nest egg, get enough for retirement, but know that I'm not going to run out of money? And how should that money be invested in order to achieve my goals? Well, if you've listened to anyone who discusses this sort of topic, be it on YouTube or on podcasts, The Dave Ramsey Show, or your personal financial advisor, I would hope you would be familiar with the 4% rule. It came out of the Trinity study. It's the general rule of thumb that seems to be fairly liberally applied in the FIRE community. Basically, the rule states that if you retire, when you retire, you take your nest egg, the value of it, multiply by 4%, and that's how much money you can pull out that year. And that's the money you have to live off of. I would imagine when I retire, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that number, divide it by 12, and take out money from my nest egg once or twice a month in order to hit basically a replacement for my paychecks. I'm not going to take it all out in one lump sum up front and then slowly eat off of that throughout the year and hope that I get through the year. I'm gonna spread it out, so if the money's invested, it can still grow and fluctuate with the market, and I'm not removing a huge chunk at a potential lull. We will talk about the 4% rule a little bit more in a later episode, but for now, what you need to know is that the 4% rule was the general reference that financial influencers, writers, and the like will reach to. Well, the article that my dad shared with me called out the 4% rule. This particular article has the comical headline that the 4% rule is not good enough, and you probably need to consider 1.9%. It says that there's more, and if you can see the video, there's this cartoon of, I don't know what era that is. I'm going to say 50s with like pointillism art of a lady going, ah! Well, I read through the article, and it was trying to say that would you believe that the conclusion of recent research is to basically replace 4% with 1.9%, cutting your effective monthly income, your effective annual income from your nest egg in half. And I'm not going to read the whole article here. I just wanted to point out that it's got some comical claim of 1.9%. And they go through a little bit of history with safe withdrawal rates in the market. And they call out the study being from the University of Missouri, and they link to the actual study. But when I've clicked on that particular link, it takes me to a page that says the study has been removed and the page can no longer be found. So I personally guess, I don't know, I'm speculating, that the study was in a one way, shape, or form debunked or critiqued to the point that it needed to be removed. I personally can't believe that an article would claim 1.9% is the new safe withdrawal rate. And I really hope that such never comes to pass. And here's the reason for that. When you are pulling money out of retirement, if you have a financial advisor who charges you as a percentage of assets under management, say it's 1%, you have to take that percentage that you're paying them off of the safe withdrawal rate and live on the remainder. So if 4% is a genuine safe withdrawal rate, you're paying for assets under management, you can say 1% of the 4 goes to your manager, at least early on. Later on, the numbers will end up skewing a little differently. But 1% goes to the manager, and you have to live on the other 3%. Basically, 1/4 of what your nest egg is able to produce is going to pay your advisor if you keep using them throughout retirement, if that's the method in which they choose to charge you. Now, if you have to go down to 1.9% as a safe withdrawal rate, and they take 1%, that leaves you with 0.9%. Your advisor would be making more off of your nest egg than you would be able to spend, save, and give in retirement. And in no practical world do I believe that this is going to come to pass.